Let's look at working in the parts view. This is the heart and soul, or the bread and butter of Sample Tank 4. Now, each part can contain an instrument along with its associated settings in its effects rack and in the player. Each part has its own settings in terms of volume, pan, MIDI channel, transpose, etc. And the collection of all 16 of these parts with any of the edits that we make to the player or the effects rack are what's stored as a multi when we save a multi. So let's look at loading an instrument. I'm going to filter and look at the Sample Tank 4 content, and maybe I'll go to piano, and I'll call up this electric piano, and there it is. And I can get back to parts view either by the Xbox or just by clicking on the note icon. So there it is. It sounds fine. We have all the basic settings here, and we have a little menu that appears here when you hover your mouse to the right of the instrument name, where we can save a modified version of this or save as a new instrument, or we can empty the part or import samples. So let's say I want to make some changes and save this. So let me go to maybe the effects view over here. Maybe I'm going to swap the order here. I'll have the reverb feed into the phaser. So that's great. I'll click that to close it. And now I'm going to go save as to save it as a new version. And I'll just rename it. And it's defaulting to the location of the directory that the parent instrument came from. So if I click here, I can change it if I want, and I can see the directory here. And here's the pathway. My sample drive, Sample Tank 4 folder I created manually, and then the installer created an instruments folder and Sample Tank 4 and then electric pianos. So I can navigate to a different folder if I want, but I'm going to leave it there and that's fine. Now I can tag it with metadata, which is useful for searching, and we'll look at that in another video. I'm just going to leave things as is, and I can modify the description if I want. And then I'm going to click save. So now if we go back here, we'll see the instrument I saved right here. So let me click the note icon to go back. Now let's say I want to load another instrument in here. Maybe I want to create a layer. I'm going to click the load instrument button, and it remembers my hierarchy that I had previously set it to. I'm going to turn that off so we're viewing everything. And I'm going to go to synth pad, and maybe I'm going to choose this one, 4 oscillator analog velocity pad. So now, again, clicking the note icon to go back, it's on this second part. And if I switch the MIDI channel to 1, which is what my keyboard is triggering on, we'll hear them both together. So maybe I want to lower the volume of that one. And pan it. Maybe I want to hear what it sounds like an octave lower. Drag that down. No, I don't like it. I can command click and that'll snap it back. And that's great. So we have the basic controls for volume and then panning and then the MIDI channel and transpose, solo and mute. Now we have a play button here, and this determines whether the instrument's player will engage when we play notes. So it's kind of like an on-off switch for the player panel. So just to show you how it works, I'll set up a player, an arpeggiator for the piano over here. So I'm going to click the player panel button here, and it's defaulting to the piano. But if I want to change which part I put it on, I can just click there. And now it's on the velocity pad, but that's not what I want. So I'll scroll up and choose the piano again. And maybe I'm going to go to the arpeggiator. And I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I'm just going to show you how this works. I'll go to the presets, maybe 16th note, and I'll just choose the first one. And that's fine. So let's close this up. So now if I hit a regular chord, I get a pad. But if I have this button on, we can get the arpeggiator happening. So maybe I want to load another pad in here. I want to create a nice dense layer. I'm going to choose this one, the one right next to it. And again, click that to go back. And maybe I'm going to pan these a little more aggressively. Maybe I want to mute the piano to hear the blend. So there I have a nice layer, and of course I can put this on and get the arpeggiator on my piano. And now if I resave my instrument, I'm just going to hit the save button. It's updated it and remembered these player settings. Now for loop instruments, the play button determines whether the loop samples in the instrument are going to play when this global play button is on. We'll look at that when we're working with loop instruments. Now finally, we have a lock icon over here, and this prevents the part from loading a new instrument when a multi is loaded. So let's say I lock all three of these. I'm protecting them from changing when I load in a new multi. So maybe I like this kind of sound with Rhodes and pads, and I've got a bunch of multis saved with different combinations, and I want to experiment and mix and match so I can protect whichever ones I want and then load in new multis and come up with some creative combinations. So that's an idea on how the parts view works, and I'll see you for more in the next video.